Have you ever had this problem where you recorded an entire episode of your podcast only to discover that you used the wrong microphone twice? Yeah, this is the kind of thing that I did not know I needed to expect when I started this podcast journey. Nor did I know that reading off a script would be so challenging because it feels so staged. I am used to just ranting into my phone and posting it in my stories, and 24 hours later it is gone. But I want to at least try and sound professional when I'm doing my own first podcast. So, without further ado, let's get into this. The year is 1996. You just finished watching the latest episode of a little show called The X-Files. So, you pour yourself a cup of tea, you dial up on the internet, and you log on to alt.x.files. There, you connect with other X-Files fans, some of whom live on the other side of the globe, and you start talking. Just like the X-Files is about a whole universe of mysteries and strange phenomena that are waiting to be discovered, so is there a whole world out there on the internet where people can find each other and create new friendships. So, you discuss the episodes, and you have heated debates about whether or not Scully and Mulder should get together by the end of the season. And why did Krychek kiss Mulder in season 5? And you write fanfiction. Lots and lots of fanfiction. Now, writing fanfic and creating fan communities around popular media was not new in the 90s. What was new was where the X-Files fans were creating these communities. This obscure sci-fi show, paired with the advent of the internet, is what created the phenomenon of online fandoms as we know it today, for better and for worse. So the way I see it, every fandom out there owes a debt of gratitude to the X-Files fans. Also sorry. Welcome to Fandom X Archive, a brand new podcast where we will be exploring the early history of the X-Files fandom. I'm your host, Dinara Tangri, aka Alien Super Soldier. Most of you know me from my Instagram, where I post silly X-Files memes and intentionally poorly made edits. And then you know that this podcast has been a long time in the making. I am so excited to finally share this with you. This isn't just the first episode of Fandom X Archive, it's also the very first show I have ever made. I have never written a script for a podcast before, and here I am writing and recording and editing all by myself. And also a special shout out to the people without whom I could not have done this. A very big thank you to my friend Rafaela, who so graciously agreed to be my beta listener. Thank you so much for your patience. And to Katrine, who wrote the theme song for this podcast. Not only did she write a theme song, but she actually wrote 2 theme songs, and I have to choose which one to play. So thank you so much, and you can find her on kex_und_frieden on Instagram. Thank you so much. To those of you who are new, let me tell you a little story about myself. I have been a fan of the X-Files since it first aired in my homeland Kazakhstan in the mid-90s, and we were all swept up in the X-Files mania. For instance, one of my best friend's older sister looked like young Gillian Anderson, and she never heard the end of it. Looking back, maybe the resemblance was less than striking, but just the fact that so many people thought she looked exactly like Dana Scully shows how fundamental that show was in those days. But as much as I loved watching the show, I was not part of the fandom. We didn't have dial-up back then, and the most I could get out of our family desktop was drawing in MS Paint and playing Prince of Persia, which is still my jam, by the way. Am I a little upset that I wasn't part of the fandom in its infancy, that I wasn't one of the trendsetters that coined the term ship? Maybe a little. There is some retroactive FOMO. But most of all, I'm just fascinated. It was a whole different world back then. And delving into that part of the X-Files history feels like discovering and studying an ancient civilization. I love diving into the rabbit holes of old fan sites and fan fiction archives, and whenever I meet fans that have been there from the start, I immediately want to ask them, how was it back then? What did you guys talk about? How did you resolve arguments? Has MSR always been this loud, dominating presence? Or was there a time where other ships were just as represented? I want to know what the atmosphere was like in those X-Files chat rooms and forums in the 90s and early 2000s. On this podcast, we will be looking at old fan sites and fan fiction archives. We will be interviewing some amazing fans I have met during my own time in this fandom. I will be sharing my personal stories of going to conventions and meeting actors, like that time I went to the X-Files Museum in the Saratoga Springs and I met Alex Krycek himself while cosplaying as Alex Krycek. I will also be reviewing books and doing an occasional fanfic read. A new episode of Fandom X Archive will be coming out every month, and you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple, Google, MS Paint, or wherever it is that you listen to your podcasts. So stay tuned for Fandom X Archive.